But it wasn't called 1-2-switch 2.
It's everything 1-2 switch or something. Something like that.
Something like that.
Everybody.
Everybody 1-2 switch. That's it.
Yeah.
I have
turns out
one last
nobody
dumb
1-2
take.
switch.
Yeah. Nobody 1-2 switch.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Nerd Nest, everybody. I'm Bill. I'm joined today by Rich. What's going on, Rich?
Hey, man. I'm doing well. How are you?
Awesome. And then we've got Carrie, who's making a face at us.
Hey. How's it going?
And Russ, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. Just happy to be here.
Excellent. So today, we didn't do an episode last week because we're four dads, and we don't always have time to get together. But we got together this week. And so we've got a lot to cover, and I wanted to start with a discussion about fake frames because we got all of this, like there's constantly these AI upscaling and, DLSS and PSSR and XESS and all of the other versions of this, where they take the frames that are generated as you play the game, and then they try and put in some extra ones to increase your frame rate. And I know that some people are vehemently opposed to using frame generation and other people are very hyped about it. And I just wanted to have a conversation about this because I think it's very interesting. I fall on the side of if you can't tell if the frames are real or not, then it doesn't matter. But I know that I'm in the minority there. So Rich, what do you think about fake frames? Do you use this kind of stuff when you're playing your games?
I don't, at least not. Like maybe on console if something is auto set or something like that, then maybe. But typically, I mean, I have like an older AMD card. I don't have an NVIDIA, so I'm certainly not using DLSS fake frames. But also, I don't know. I think I'm old school and stuck in my ways, and I think that I don't care if I get only 80 FPS, like that's fine for me. I can do 80 FPS. I don't need that to be 150. It's okay.
Carrie is barely holding it together. He wants to say so much, but I'm going to make him wait because I want to hear what Russ has to say first. Russ, do you turn on fake frames?
I just did a review of a PC the other day. It was like this little PC that had a low profile 4060 inside of it. And in all of my testing, I turned all that stuff off. The resolution scaling, all the frame generation stuff. And as soon as I was done with the video, I turned it all on because I don't care. I like it, and it's kind of cool just to see it as long as I can't tell a difference, right? But I think I mentioned it offline with us previously, but there's this group, and I call them Raster Bros, and it's like they want the clean, true frames. Whether or not they can tell a difference is secondary to that, So I think in my testing, I will probably continue to do that, where I'm going to, appeal to the Raster Bros until the tide turns, and then maybe, just kind of showing both. A good example for me is that I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima off and on all the time. And I've got my ROG Nook hooked up to my living room computer monitor. And it's got a 4070 laptop GPU inside of it. So it can play the game just fine, at upscale resolution. So at 1440p medium is usually what I play it at. Solid 60, no problem. When I stream it over to my handheld and I'm playing game streaming, I'm doing it on my Odin 2 Portal, which can do 1080p 120 frames, which is a little bit hard for that ROG Nook. So what I do is I turn on that frame generation, and then it caps out at 120, and I love it. It's an amazing experience because on that small of a screen, you cannot tell if there's a little bit of whatever happening, artifacting. Between the artifacting and then just the pixelation that sometimes comes with streaming, all that's fine. And so, yeah, I use it, but I don't test with it.
Do you feel you don't see kind of those artifacts and things like that, but do you feel a strong benefit from having those quote unquote fake frames? Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm the guy who when it hits 120 frames or whatever, I'm just whoa, it's so cool. And then 3 minutes later, I can't tell the difference. I just can't see it, And so it is very cool for those first 3 minutes.
Fair.
Can you feel the latency?
It's really hard with streaming just because it's already like I don't have the best setup as well. And so it's like it just kind of adds, it's all there. You know what I mean? Like is it a good or bad gaming experience? That's all I really care about at that point, and it's good enough. So
do you ever when you've tried it, Rich, do you feel latency?
I've only like the part of the context is that like this new frame gen that DLS is bringing is like multi-frame gen. I've never
I think it's 3.
Right.
Yeah. For the one frame, I don't notice the latency, but like I said, I haven't done it on any like competitive games. So like, I believe I would notice the latency on those competitive games if I'm comparing it from, an actual native higher frame rate versus, let's just say, artificial higher frame rate thanks to fake frames. I believe I would feel that. Yeah.
Right now, looking at Carrie, I would assume if we lived in a cartoon world, if I cracked an egg and put it on his head, it would be cooking. What do you think about fake frames, Carrie? Are they fake?
Yes, but yes, they are. So there's a lot to unpack here. I enjoy using it, especially for like on the ROG Ally X. FSR 3.1 with XESS upscaling. I love FSR 3.1 just because it is an agnostic type of upscaling frame gen. So FSR 3.1, you can use FSR frame gen, but then you can use XESS as your upscaler. And that combo is fantastic. It's like a marginal frame cost added on top of whatever you're doing. But the blend of like trying to do any anti-lag stuff does really translate very well. So when you're playing at like 80 FPS, which is 40 what it's actually doing, it feels fantastic. So input latency wise and how it looks is just truly stunning. So in that space, I am fine with it. I'm okay with it in a lot of different areas. The part where I think, if we back up how this whole thing like really started is like NVIDIA wanted to get into ray tracing. Ray tracing is a very expensive thing to do, especially with how many points you start doing. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen like ray tracing rendering, like just traditional. Have you ever like seen like whenever someone's render on like Blender or whatever, and it just looks super noisy, right? Until it starts filling in all the gaps and stuff.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I think so.
What it was originally supposed to be doing as like an upscaler, but also as a denoiser. It would denoise a not barely done ray traced image, right? It would just see all that noise and just go bloop, let's fix all that, right? It would be an anti-denoiser is what it like started off as. And there's lots of problems with that because any type of motion, and like in Minecraft, you could see it big time with the path tracing type of stuff. So like whenever you move your arm, you see this like ghosting warble, like wherever the arm is popping in and out of the frame. So there's like distractions that can come out where there are visual abnormalities that just present themselves. And then that's kind of a crappy experience. And that was even in DLSS 2, the best version of it. When you see like, Digital Foundry going in and showing very specific things like, look at this little person in the background. He's just kind of this like smeary bludge that's just like, it's like he's going this way. And that's not happening at all. So it's just this weird, image artifact that happens on screen. And that sucks. So now they have that new transformer model, which is better. Great. This whole thing started off as like, fake frames, great. NVIDIA is going to use this to just make these bogus charts, which they have. And they've done it even further with the 5090 now that they can make so many fake frames. They're like a 5070 is like a 4090, and it's not at all. Right. So that problem is that marketing was so good and everyone just ran with it that I had people at work be like, oh, did you hear that a 5070 is as good as a 4090? And I was like, no, it isn't. Don't do it. You're going to be upset. So there's all of that kind of sucks. And then on top of all of that, where it wouldn't be so bad when we go to like, when we talk about like the raster boys, is that game devs are now including frame gen as a part of a system requirement. So it's like, well, to get medium, you're going to need frame gen DLSS 3. And they're like, well, hold on. you can't be doing that. That's cheating. You're cheating right now. I'm supposed to use that afterwards. You're not supposed to be doing that beforehand. So that's where things are getting real muddy real fast. When people are looking at the system requirements, they go like, do they have the frame gen on here? 60 FPS with frame? Oh my God. What are they doing?
To put a bullet right on the end of your point there, you go to NVIDIA's website in the show notes, and it like right there's a giant screen. It's like DLSS off, 28 frames per second. DLSS on, full ray tracing on, 242 frames per second.
Yeah,
and I'm like, come on, guys.
That's so for sure. Frame gen sucks when you cannot have a good enough base frame rate. That just sucks. I don't like using it at all. Once I'm in like the 20 or 30 FPS, I turn off frame gen because it feels like trash. It feels like just like something is very wrong. And so this is a question for like also in the comments of this particular video. When you ever go over like a family's house, right? And their TV just has the automatic motion plus thing on their TV and everything looks like a soap opera thing. Mm-hmm. I spot it in under a second and I go, oh, how do you enjoy watching that? And they go, what? And I'm like, oh, come on. Like it's immediately apparent how fake this looks. And I know that a lot of people don't. There's that whole Twitter thread where that guy never deleted his tweet. He just left it up. He was just like, some guy was like, oh, I'm getting rid of my PS5 because I have to play Red Dead Redemption 2 at 60 FPS. And he's like, no, it's 60 FPS on PS5. And he's like, no, it isn't. He's like, look. And he's like moving around. And there's so much latency from him just moving around that he just doesn't even care. He's using the TV's own post-processing. He's using TV fake frames, which is the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen people compare the TV fake frames to these fake frames, and no, those are different things.
Right. So what the TV is doing is it's taking the first frame, waiting for the second frame, and then blending between the two. Yeah. So it's just keyframing between the two. But that means you have to wait all of that time for both of those frames before it's even presented for the person to look at. So you're in like 150 millisecond territory, which you can even see it when he's like moving it on the analog stick. You can count how long it's like one. Whoa. And this guy's happy with it. He's like, look at that 60 FPS. And I'm like, oh man, this is terrible.
Some people I think are just impervious to that kind of thing. Like, when I'm playing a game and like, unless I have my frame counter on the screen or the little graph that goes across and shows me when I have a frame dip or a frame time counter, I tend not to really notice it unless it's severe. Mm-hmm. I just want it to be stable. I don't care if it's 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second or 90 or 120, as long as it just stays at whatever it's supposed to be. Like friend of the show, Jimmy Champagne, he's always talking about the fact that he runs his games at lower frames per second all the time, just because he doesn't particularly care about having high numbers. He just wants it to be perfectly stable, like a frame time graph that is a completely flat line that goes all the way across. And I can understand that.
Yeah, I was playing Starfield the other day, and what I've done now on that same computer I was talking about, the ROG Nook, and hooked up to that living room setup, is I've turned off all of my like MSI Afterburner stuff, and I just have the Steam one at the top right corner. It's that little tiny, like really hard to read, like FPS counter thing. And so I just don't see it unless I'm like feeling a lag. I'm like, oh, what are we doing here? You know? And so I was playing Starfield and I'm like, this is good. Like I'm in battle. I'm like, everything's good. I'm like, this feels great. What are we at? Like 70? And I look and it's 40. And I'm like, that's good enough. It's fine.
Take his card, everybody. Take his card.
You know, I can imagine people are like, you shouldn't be enjoying that. But here I am enjoying it. I don't know
40
what to
FPS
say,
is deceptively good. It is a fantastic frame rate to hit. I love 40 FPS. I think that you can feel 30 and 60. It's harder to feel 40 and 60. That's hard. Just like it's 40 and 60 is almost as hard as to feel as 60 and 120. Like 120, you can perceive it, but you have to have it hitting it so consistently that it needs to like, oh, okay, I can feel what that is. But I have to like lock in for me to like use my mouse and flick it around. Like, oh, okay, I know where I am. Yeah. But 40, I think, is still really, and that's where, again, remember when I said, like, with Ratchet and Clank, when I'm, like, at 80 FPS, that feels great. Like, in just terms of input latency and all the other stuff, that feels good. And at 80 FPS, that looks good. So I'm just, like, a huge fan of that whole zone. And, like, where if I can hit that, I'm just like, okay, I'm golden here. I can deal with that.
If you had said, Bill, I want you to bet money on what Carrie's thoughts will be on fake frames, I would have lost money today. I thought for sure you would have been like totally against it. It's the worst. I hate it, and you've surprised me.
So I mean, I do enjoy a single fake frame. I don't have a 5090 to even like start looking at multiple fake frames. I for sure have an issue with going from 30 FPS to 120 FPS
or 28 to 242.
Yeah. Like I just have I have just a general, like, that's not good. Like that's a bad precedent type of slippery slope. I know slippery slope is a logical fallacy, right? But like we already see game dev companies including it in there. So it's not so much of a slippery slope fallacy because it's already happening now. And it's a real weird thing, right? It's an NVIDIA tech that NVIDIA is pushing because it's more AI aligned. And that's really where they're guiding GPUs at the moment. It's tough. I sympathize because rendering at 4K is very tough and getting high frame rate at 4K is very tough. So it's no wonder that they're just like, how are we going to do this? I know. Cheat.
Well, speaking of cheating, I think that a lot of Carrie, you do a lot of benchmark videos, and I think that the benchmark videos for the new kind of hardware that's doing this, frame generation tech, I think that those videos are going to get a whole lot longer because I think that the right way to do it is to do the benchmark with all that stuff turned off, and then also do all of the benchmarks again with all of that stuff turned on so that you can tell people this is what you get with DLSS off. This is what you get with DLSS on. And, to better inform the buyers. I think that that's something everybody's just going to have to do. Like, Russ, you have the ability to make a 40-minute video about how the buttons feel on a retro handheld.
True.
I can't imagine how long your benchmark videos would get if you were reviewing like the 5090. And by the way, somebody please send a 5090 to Carrie. We need his input.
Definitely need Carrie's input.
All three of you that have it, please.
yeah, hand it over.
Dozens of us.
So there actually is a new method for that has been devised. It's called millisecond between frame, and it is a new benchmark standard for these things, and you can measure it now called millisecond between frame.
Oh, great. I have to learn a new thing. I just finally learned about 1% lows and 0.01% lows, and now I got a new thing to learn.
Yeah. So this is like done. Part and parcel of the whole shebang.
I do think
okay.
Well, going back quickly to what Carrie was saying earlier about the marketing, right? I do think that's the biggest point, right? Like everybody is going to have different opinions about like what is comfortable for them, what looks great for them, but there has to be a clear understanding of what this technology does in terms of improving or just making something different, right? So like Carrie talked a lot about the NVIDIA, but you also mentioned like from the game companies and the system requirements and stuff like that. And that's the place where I do really want to see this is what you get without that stuff turned on. And then if you want to turn it on, you get more, right? Like I like that.
Yeah, I often see the argument that people say that now with frame generation, devs use it to avoid bothering to optimize their games.
Yeah.
So they don't they get their games running at 30 frames per second. They're like, all right, good enough. We're done. Now we can just use frame gen to do the rest. What's up, Carrie?
So that it is a genuine issue if they're going to start targeting these things, only because Intel and AMD don't have that. So now they're even further behind the eight ball, right? So it's like Intel was already like, oh man, we just caught up, and it's like fake frames? How many fake frames? And we can't use it? Oh boy. It's I don't know, man. When you talk about like this whole optimization thing and everyone going to Unreal Engine 5, I don't know. I think to myself that Unreal Engine 5 is just because of the Switch 2 in a lot of ways. That's like it's like we want to make games all the way, but we really want to sell on Switch 2 as well. And really great to have a button that helps us do that. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys saw like Witcher 4 is having like development hell issues because of Unreal Engine 5.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. It's the craziest thing to me, man. It just like I talk about Indiana Jones all the time, but it looks really good and runs fantastic. And that's id Tech. And they made it Motor or whatever they call it. It's like an adaptation of their id Tech 7. And it's fantastic. And Microsoft owns it. And they're like, let's move over to Unreal Engine 5, a thing we don't own and have to pay for. Yeah. It's just, it is defeating. The whole thing is defeating. Wukong by itself is a game that just drives me up a wall because it is just such a demanding game all over. And it's not like Crisis levels, right? Like Crisis was like, oh, okay, I can see why this game is so demanding. But then you look at Wukong and you're like, I don't know, man. I've seen a lot of other really good games not be this crappy. And it's like, yeah, it's, I don't know. It's really defeating. And I hope that we can pass this.
Yeah, I think this too go ahead, Russ.
I was just going to say, I really want to see 5 years from now, like, I think both frame generation and then all of the AI upscaling stuff, like, it's just so not plug and play right now. I mean, even Carrie is like, yeah, FSR 3.1 with XeSS. Like you got a secret code to unlock just to get like this better like gameplay experience. But I want to see this stuff moved into just like the norm, right? Like, not saying that I love all this or whatever, but I want it to get to the point where it's just you turn on the game and, you can turn it on and off and it's just one toggle or whatever. It's optimized for that game. I don't know. It's just everything. There's so many disparate parts, different chip manufacturers, different technologies and everything. I think we're all like really deep into the weeds right now. We can't see the forest for the trees.
And it's all alphabet soup. You're right about the letters and stuff. Very confusing to people who aren't constantly thinking about this stuff. I can understand why somebody would hear you say DLSS4 and XeSS or FSR 3.1 and XeSS, whatever. Like, really? That's crazy. Like, I remember I used to have, like, when I started doing videos, I used to have to, like, write down these stupid letters and then study it before I said the line. But now I've said it so many times, I've just kind of internalized it. But it's not, I don't know. It's a little confusing. All right. Let's move on and talk about the games that we've been playing. I played a game that was actually sent, I think it was sent to all of us. I can't remember. And that's Lazer?
I got it, yeah.
Yeah, I sent you guys keys for that one. There was another one that we got sent keys for, and I haven't touched it yet because it's a mouse and keyboard game, and I was like, oh, never mind. But Lazer is actually kind of cool. You're like on this Pac-Man grid, and you have this little tiny robot guy, right? And this little tiny robot guy, you push up on the D-pad, and he zips up incredibly fast until he hits a wall. And it like when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, this is a Pac-Man clone, and it's not. This is a puzzle game, and your job is to get as many of the dots that you are trying to get before you go into the exit. And in order to plan out your path, you have to like stop and think about it. But while you're stopping and thinking about it, you have this timer that's going from right to left across your screen where you're going to run out of time before you've made your turn. So you have to think and move fast. I really have enjoyed it. I haven't played a ton of it, but what I played was definitely fun. Rich, did you get a chance to check out Lazer?
No, I didn't. It does look fun. I do enjoy like those sort of, it's not quite Sokoban kind of puzzle game.
I love Sokoban games.
Yeah, right. But
what's a Sokoban?
Sokoban are the puzzle games. They look like this, right? Kind of overhead kind of view, and you push a box to get it into a space. That's kind of a Sokoban, like a Chips Challenge kind of deal. Mm-hmm. So this is a bit of a variant on that, right? Where, like you said, you press a direction and it goes all the way in that direction.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there are like any pushable objects here. I'm guessing no.
I can't remember if there are, but there's like portals that you can go through.
Yeah.
And there's things that will change your direction when you hit them. And I'm sure that there's like more things that show up later on in the game as you play that will change how you play.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of puzzle games like this. I just haven't had a chance to try yet. So definitely something I want to give a shot to.
Did you give it a chance yet, Carrie?
I did not. No. The only thing I've managed to put any time in is Rebirth.
Talk about it.
So Rebirth is I'm only into it for like only an hour or so. But it's a bit, the intro is jarring, insofar as the landscape looks beautiful, like outrageously detailed. Every character model looks fantastic, like it's like super well done. And then there's things that are just like, you'll walk into like in the beginning scene, you'll walk into a barrier, a little barrier that stands up, and it'll just cartoonishly fly off into space. And it's just like, well, that looked weird. And then you hit a box and it's just like, boo, and it's just like, well, that feels not grounded in this particular reality. And then you're like running around and you're going to like the first cloud reminiscing thing, and you're in the village, and it's surreal. Like you go there and it like, there's parts of like, oh, that's cool. And then you just like stand still for a second, and it's like, oh, I wonder if Sephiroth is off in this hour. Oh, I wonder if Sephiroth is off in this hour. And it's just like, well, this is weird. And it just feels like overdone, super polished in a lot of areas, and then not in other areas. And it's such a weird giant gap between them that it's throwing me for a loop, that I'm just like, now just like, anytime I notice it, it stands out like a sore thumb. And then I go to the combat stuff where the models look fantastic. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And this is like, okay, I'm just going to go straight to combat. I'm just like, get out of these cities, as I don't care about any of this crap. I just want to do battle. So I'm trying to get to that, and the game is like stopping me at every moment that it possibly can. It's like, how about some more exposition? And I'm like, skip. I don't care.
Or mini games. There's a lot of mini games in that game.
I heard, yeah. So right now I'm just trying to get to the meat of just actually playing the game instead of whatever cruft they have around it. That's where I am right now. It just looks like, man, when you look at the character models, enemy models, the environments, just fantastic, like crazy good, really, really good. So yeah, I'm looking, but now Valve's coming out soon, so I'm probably going to drop that and move over to that.
What's coming out soon? Oh, Valve. Okay, we'll talk about that later on in the show.
I tend to like FF7 exposition, like just generally, like original FF7 remake. How did you feel about, let's say, remake in terms of exposition?
So I still enjoy the original from rose-tinted glasses. Like, I remember when Barrett said shit, right? Like, when I read shit, I was like, oh, he said shit, this game's mature. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, finally, a game that's going to treat things seriously. So I still have rose-tinted glasses from, like, when I played it originally, and the tone of the game. And I still enjoy the original insofar as setting and mood, versus what the newer ones did. And remake felt like almost like a cutout book of like, look at all this awesome stuff. Look at all this awesome stuff. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's just something slightly missing in terms of tone. I dropped remake pretty fast. I got in, like, play it, and then it's just like, okay, flavor's gone. Rebirth, I've seen so many videos of like fighting gameplay that I can't wait. Oh, also, did you see the mod where you can make your teammates uber aggressive? It's like the cool. No. It looks even better. It looks even better now. Like, they're like super mega awesome battle. It's like watching an anime. It's like, yes, this is even better. So I want to like just use that mod, but I got to get to the game where it'll let me use the mod. So I'm like fighting with that right now.
Russ, what have you been playing, man?
So I played a little bit of Rebirth, not much, probably the first half hour or so, and same feelings as Carrie on it. Like, there's a weird kind of dichotomy there, and it reminded me the most of it because I just finished Final Fantasy XVI on PC, and same thing where it's like there are some epic moments and whatnot, and then they're just like there's these very low lows where they'll be like, hey, in order to progress this story, you need to go to this field and get 10 leathers from this animal. And you, even though you are the most powerful person on the planet, you're the only one who can do this, right? You've got to go and kill those little, and the fast travel mechanics are just so annoying, you know? And so those are moments where it just like drags you right out of the game, you know? But then the battles like are so epic. Like, you were just like, you know, it's like icon versus icon, like full on, like, you know, summoning giants fighting each other, and you're controlling one of them. And really epic, like very anime-esque battles where it just keeps getting bigger. You're like, oh, I defeated the guy. You didn't defeat the guy. You defeated that form of the guy. You can now defeat the other guy, you know? And so it's like that happens 10 times throughout the entire game. You know, like there's 10 major moments like that. So I really liked it. But I actually stopped Rebirth because I was like, it's more of the same, you know, and I'm just not quite ready to kind of sit down and watch long cutscenes and whatnot. So I jumped into Starfield again. So I put about 4 or 5 hours in the past 3 days or so. Definitely further than I've ever been in it. And I don't know. Like I like it and I hate it. It's very similar to the other ones, I guess. But like the travel mechanics in that one, you know, just like, okay, you got to go to this mission. It's going to be on this planet and it's like 3 systems away. You've never been to that system before. So you have to travel 2 systems away first, then travel 1 system to get to the next one. All done in menus. There's no actual traveling happening. You're just holding onto the X button for a bit. And so those little things are like just so jarring to me. I am moving to these new planets, but it doesn't feel like I am. I'm just walking into a new stage set by Bethesda is what I feel like I'm doing every time, which is fine. These set pieces are great and they're fun, but that's the limitation I'm seeing.
When you say you have to travel between the different systems, do you mean like if I want to fly to Los Angeles, they make me to fly to Atlanta first? Is that what you mean?
Right.
Yeah. If your ship doesn't have enough fuel to do the jump in the one jump, and you've never been there before, you have to hop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the hopping is just menu hopping. It is not actual, like, it's just cutscene to cutscene to cutscene kind of thing. So instead of taking 10 seconds, it takes you 30 seconds. And those are excruciating moments just for me, because I'm just like, you know, I could be working on a video right now, but I want to play a video game and I'm having to watch a video instead, you know? And so those are the things that bother me. But, you know, I'm not really doing side quests. I think some of them look really interesting. Like people keep walking out to me like, hey, I heard about you and you should join my faction, like that kind of stuff. Like, I love that. Like, I love that I'm like making a name for myself, you know, but I'm just going through because I want to find the mystery. I want to get the solve the mystery, you know, and I should not be caring about this because I've been burnt so many times by Bethesda storylines that I shouldn't be doing this. Like Fallout 4, you're like, I'm going to go find Dad, right? You don't want to find Dad. It's not that great of a story, right? Everything happens in between. And I'm doing Starfield the wrong way right now. I'm like, I need to find out this mystery, like this answer, when I probably should just be enjoying the moments in between.
I do think that that's the better way to play Bethesda games. Like I never finished Skyrim. I think I like went up the mountain to go meet those guys and I got distracted and I never went back there. And I played Skyrim for, I don't know, like 120 hours or so. And I never came anywhere close to progressing the story because I was just like, my story in Skyrim was I went to this house and in the basement of this house, there was this dungeon. And then you went through and you read the books and you found out what happened to this family and it was crazy. And then you came out and there was a dragon there and you stole his power. And now you can shout Fus Ro Da at something. I think that's a better way to play.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
So Starfield is frustrating, man. I won't defend it on those points because it takes too long. It's literally through like you have JRPGs, which are just basically like 70 hours of like tutorial before they'll let you actually play the game. And Starfield is 70 hours of just getting skills and stuff and money to actually get all the good stuff and do all the good stuff, where all of a sudden all of the cruft is finally no longer necessary. It's not a great design. By any means. And like I think the one thing that made me like really pay attention to it is there's a part in Neon, the cyberpunk-esque city, where there is a club and there's 2 levels to the club. And earlier on, to get to the second level of club, you have to go to an elevator, which has a loading screen. But later on, now that I have a super jetpack, I could just jump up to the second level and there is no loading screen. And it's like, well, say, hey, why was there a loading screen ever? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. So there's lots of like self-inflicted wounds in that game. Even like the first major city, when you go on like a train to go to some other part of it, it's like, oh, you know, you go into this train and then it's just like, here's a menu. And it's like, oh, this is like such an anticlimactic way to like do things. It just feels crappy, especially when there's like intense moments happening. And it's like, dun, 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 dun. You like go there and like, oh. And the funny thing about that, again, with my super jetpack, I could just jump to the place that I don't even need a train to, and there's no loading screen, and it's just like, what were you guys doing? So
That's
yeah,
really weird.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. There are really redeeming things about it, and it's like, I think Oblivion I loved. Oblivion's gates were probably the crappiest parts of Oblivion, but the side quest and also the main quest of Oblivion. I don't know if you guys ever beat Oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
The ending of Oblivion was pretty epic, and that was fantastic. Like, I loved how it like deformed the land and deformed the city, and it was like that forever. And then you could just like go and do your victory lap or do something else. I always loved that thing about Elder Scrolls games. But yeah, like all the side factions and stuff. Yeah, Starfield's an interesting game.
Yeah, I think I'm going to push through and keep going because I've gotten to the point now where I've like unlocked more of the story, and it's all very collection and like mission based, you know. But I'm enjoying each of those, and you know they always do a really good job of weaving in a narrative, whether or not you like it. You know, like you're going to have fun, learn about something crazy, just in the overall story arc. And I've always been this way. Like I've finished, you know, Oblivion and Skyrim and Fallout 3, like going through the main storyline and then usually kicking back and having fun afterwards, you know, and checking all that stuff. I don't know if I'll do that in Starfield, but either way, I'm just enjoying it. But yeah, it's a weird juxtaposition of like trying to get to the mission, but then the mechanics of it just kind of
get in the way. Yeah.
One of the things I'm hearing too, right? Like, is that what's fun about Bethesda games is the role playing, right? Like not necessarily the story or what happens, but just going through those motions and like being immersed in this environment and having these random stories happen to you. So you have a unique story, or at least you feel like you do. And all of the things that you're talking about, your gripes with Starfield, clearly like break that immersion.
Yeah, I've solved some of it for me too, because like I was really ammo starved in the beginning of the game. Like I was just like I'm like just searching bodies before I move into the next room, like over and over again. And I was like, I don't like doing this, right? Then I figured out a shotgun has a lot of damage, and you can carry lots of shotgun shells. And so I that's all. I'm a shotgun guy now. I turn the difficulty down so much that the enemies don't bother me too much, and then I just run up to them and boom, one shot, and then just run up to them, boom, one shot. And so I'm never starved for ammo now, which is great. I love it.
That is one feature that I would definitely recommend you doing. I'm getting a phone call. One of the features that I love in Starfield that Bethesda has done is they have reward, because in previous like Oblivion and Skyrim, I always hated it because you can just dynamically change the difficulty. And it's like, well, this is an RPG. Like if I'm level 10 and I just like make things harder, then what does my level really mean? Like, why am I leveling up?
Right.
What's the point of this? And in Starfield, if you make certain parts of the game harder, they give you an experience boost. And if you make something too easy, they'll give you a penalty. But I had like the type of game that I liked. I had like a plus 51% XP increase. And that was such a huge thing that I didn't do until like I was like level 20. That is like super necessary because you need to, it helps you level up faster to get more skill points that unlock stuff that makes the game more enjoyable. So I would definitely do that, which I forgot to mention. But, yeah, that's one really cool thing that I really like that Bethesda did. One thing that they do that is just way too hard, it's like a difficulty modifier, is like, you know, you need to eat and also care about whatever planet you're on. And it's like, okay, I'm too cold. And it's like, you have hypothermia. And I'm like, I feel fine. Like, oh, I'm dead. Like, well, let me turn that down a little bit, because that's, there was one level I was on towards the end where I was sprinting like hell because it was like, and I was like literally going and going. I was almost to my ship, and then it like auto saved to where I exited and then immediately died. And I was like, oh no, my save game is crap. And it kept on loading into this spot where I was like almost insta dead. So I had to like lower down the difficulty immediately in that one particular field. It's like atmosphere or whatever. But that was really cool. I like that you can do like a very super survival, make it like really like almost too realistic for its own good. So that's for like hardcore people. But yeah, the main storyline of Starfield is pretty good. I like it more than I liked Skyrim's. I wonder what you're gonna choose insofar as like, you know, like you'll wait till you get there. But
Yeah. No, I'm
There you go.
looking forward to it. It's the first game from them that I really feel a sense of mystery. Like the other ones, it's really just been kind of like, see what the story's going to do. But this one, I'm actually like thinking about it outside of the game, which is great.
Rich, you've been playing Marvel Rivals?
Lots of Marvel Rivals. Yeah.
Like every time I look, every time I go to there, it'll be like, so-and-so has played this many hours lately. And I'm like, I wonder where Rich is. And I'm not going to out you with how many hours you put into that game recently.
I think it's near 200, right? I want to say near 200.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So in season 0, I was all about Jeff the Lion Shark. I mean, I would try other people, but I was all about Jeff the Lion Shark, who is a support, but has completely he almost immediately was out of the meta in season 0, right? Like he is a healer without a like the big support ult. Like I know people were like really hated Jeff's ult because they could grab everybody up and take them off the map, but in actuality, that is a lot less like dependable of an ult than Luna Snow or Cloak and Dagger or Mantis, who just buffed the whole team for, like 10 to 12 seconds, right? So the meta kind of went away from Jeff, and I could feel it, right? Like I felt like people were catching on to my Jeff ult traps and stuff like that. So I had to do some like soul searching. I was trying out Hulk. I was trying out all these people. I kind of landed on Cloak and Dagger, who has one of those like big ults. And first of all, I think I learned that I'm not that great with aiming. Like my mechanics are not that great. So I gravitate to people like Jeff, like Cloak and Dagger, like Hulk, that I don't need to like aim with.
Right.
Yeah. So I really enjoy that. But yeah, so my win rate went up with Cloak and Dagger. But one thing I want to talk about in a future episode is all of the shenanigans that Marvel Rivals is doing. Like their matchmaking is very.
I heard about this.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So it's very
Talk about
manipulative.
fake.
Exactly. So like the first thing I realized was in unranked matches, they will occasionally put you up against a team of bots, right? So like if you're doing poorly, they want you to feel good about yourself. So they'll put you up a team of humans against a team of bots that suck. And you won't necessarily know that
It's
a
not
team of
labeled.
bots. It's not labeled at all.
Yeah.
And you're, they have a separate mode for playing against bots. So why would they just put bots in this unranked match? But they do. And then in ranked, it turns out they manipulate that too. So they put out NetEase put out a paper a while ago, apparently, about engagement optimized matchmaking. I don't think they called it that in the paper because that is patented by Activision. Yeah. But they talk about all the ways that they can manipulate the result of a match, right? So like if they feel you are losing too much and you're about to like churn, you're about to leave the game, how can they make it so that you get a win in the next match, either by putting you up against people that suck compared to you, giving you buff teammates, that sort of thing, potentially even reducing hitboxes.
Fake frames and fake wins.
Yeah. Man.
That's gaming.
I definitely want to talk about this, but this seems like a big discussion.
Yeah.
So I want to table this for next episode and talk about that. What'd you call it? Engagement
optimized matchmaking. So matchmaking so that you stay on the game as long as possible.
Oh, that's so
manipulative.
Scummy.
Yeah, it is.
Very.
God.
Yeah.
I'm just mad now. Now I don't want to even play the game. And I've been playing Captain America and Hulk, and I've been having so much fun.
It's always like fake frames make me feel good. Fake wins make me feel good. I don't want to feel good.
Oh no. Yeah. So now I've tried like gaming the system, right? So, and a lot of like the top people will recommend like if you're going on a losing streak, just stop the game. Like if you lose twice in a row, stop playing. Maybe play on an alt account or something like that.
That's crazy, man.
But just stop.
Lost twice. Let me play my other account.
That's a whole new kind of smurfing.
Yeah, cheapers,
exactly.
creepers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Weird.
That's where I'm at. I'm still playing now.
I've also been playing that game a bunch with my son, and the other day we were like, I said to him, I go, we are kicking ass. Do you think we're going up against bots right now? He's like, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. What does your son play? Who does your son play?
So he has been playing Invisible Woman.
Good one.
Who I also really like playing as Invisible Woman. She's really fun. She has a cool ability where she sends out her attack, but it goes through people. So you can stand behind your tank, send it through the tank. It'll hit the enemy on the other side, and then it comes back. And when it hits friendlies, it heals them. And when it hits enemies, it damages them. It's such a cool kit, especially when you combine it with any time you get in trouble, just double jump.
Yeah.
And you turn invisible and you just vanish and they cannot see you as long as you're not attacking.
Except Iron Fist, because he has like a magnet to you. So like as he's attacking you, if you try double jumping at the wrong time, he's already like coming for that next hit, and you're hit out of your invisible kit, so your ability. So I kept trying to play her, but I kept running into that problem. So I'm like, no, forget it. I'm gonna do cloak. I know how to play cloak. I'm sticking to that.
It also drives me crazy when I put when you put a shield on somebody and then they just walk away from it, and I'm like, what are you doing? I got a big shield there that heals you. Why are you running away from the thing that's going to keep you alive?
You got to keep doing it. Keep right clicking.
Yeah.
Give
right clicking. How do you do that on a controller?
Yeah, you're on a controller.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay. I was going to jump, but that was a good segue to talk about mouse mode on the Nintendo Switch. But I got to talk about Indiana Jones because Carrie got it for me for Christmas, because we all exchanged like games as Christmas gifts. And I finally sat down and I started playing Indiana Jones. And I finally, like I talked about it on previous episodes, that I just couldn't find enough money to get the camera. Well, I finally got the camera. And then, boys, oh man, this game is freaking great. I am loving it. It's literally like watching a movie. You are watching an Indiana Jones movie. Troy Baker is the voice actor.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Amazing.
Like my wife goes, is that Harrison Ford? And I was like, that's not him, baby. That's some other guy, some really tall guy. We saw him at the Game Awards. He's dead on. The animators nailed his expressions. Like there's one moment where, and this is not really a spoiler, but like something happens and there's this witness to what Indy has just done. And he looks over at him and just kind of waves. And I laughed my ass off at that. And then Carrie, I sent you the quote that I won't spoil for other people, that also had me laughing out loud. This is such a good game.
Yeah.
I've hardly touched a gun.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just punching dudes and hitting them with sticks and stuff. And I'm having so much fun. I cannot wait to play it more. We had a snow day yesterday. I spent 4 hours. I never have a game hold my attention for that long, because I'm like, shiny things. It held my attention the whole time. My wife was like, hey, dinner's ready. I paused it, went downstairs, I ate dinner, and then I came back up and started playing again until she came up and we sat down to watch something. And even then I was in the middle of a puzzle. I'm like, baby, you got to wait. I got to finish this puzzle. This is too good.
Yeah. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I absolutely loved the ending of that game. Is up there. I'm just going to put it. It's sensational. I did not see it coming up until it happened. And then I was like, wow, the game is, the ending is worth it alone.
All right. I can't wait. I'm having so much fun with it. All right. We'll use expired segue now with the Nintendo patent seems to confirm mouse mode functionality. We finally saw like this, the traditional patent application images, and it shows them using mouse mode. It shows them using two mouses. I just assumed it was, if you're left-handed, then you can use the left-handed one. If you're right-handed, you could use the right-handed one. But there's a picture of them using both at the same time, and that is really, really strange to me. Russ, what do you think would be the use case for two plural mice?
I don't know, like maybe some sort of like like a driving game or something where you're using both. You're kind of like going like this, you know what I mean, or something like that. I'm not really sure. Like, yeah, it'll be really interesting. I don't know how you would play both at once like that, but I don't know. I kind of trust that they're going to make something fun out of it. You know, the hard part's going to be how do we emulate that 10 years from now, but whatever.
Two mice.
People, go ahead.
I said
Right,
two mice.
Oh, I
handhelds
suppose
with
so.
2 mice on them.
But they also have joysticks on them at the same time. Like it's just really, really strange. And it also still doesn't look very comfortable. Rich, are you interested in the double mice way of life?
I can't. The only thing I can see them using this for is like Mario Party, right? Like, you know, wipe on, wipe off, some, you know, like some weird motion to make. That's it. That's the only thing. Which, I mean, it'll be fun. I'll play that. But that, as far as when we were talking about like Nintendo being gimmicky, if that's the extent, the 2 mice and they pull that out in a Mario Party or WarioWare, I will take that 100%.
Yeah, that's a good gimmick because it's not foisted upon the devs to try and support.
Yeah.
Carrie,
so the
did you
interesting
ever
thing
play?
is that
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention on the pattern where it shows them holding it in 2 mice mode is the thumbs are still on the joysticks.
Yeah.
So is that also an input? So they're doing like moving and joysticks and the buttons?
I don't think the joysticks
I don't know what kind of motion you would want to do like that, but that'd be kind of interesting.
I think the joysticks become like directional, almost like a radial wheel type of input, like, you know, or pressing in for buttons.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not anticipate double motion.
Yeah.
Did you
Be crazy.
Did you play Virtual On in the arcade back in the day?
I did. I love Virtual On. I
loved
absolutely love Virtual On. Yeah.
For the poor people who were too young and missed out, it was this fantastic arcade game with 2 joysticks, and you drove it like my dad's lawnmower, which is a 0-point turn lawnmower where you just both joysticks forward is forward, both joysticks back is back, left, right, and then if you did opposite things, you would turn. It was really cool.
I'm reasonably sure that's on the backwards compatibility list because it was an XBLA game. Xbox Live Arcade. It
was?
I bought it.
Yeah.
I think it's actually in the backwards compatibility list as well. So if you want to get your Virtual On, you can. It's not as good though. You know, because you had the feeling of the joysticks. Like I mean, slicing through with the sword with those sticks it felt like you were like, you know, with intent. But the dual mice is for controlling 2 eyeballs. So I don't know. It just splits the screen in half, and you just look in 2 different directions. Have 2 different guns.
It's like the Mario 64, where it's just his head floating there, and you're like pulling out his nose.
Joy-Cons akimbo. Just.
For shooting akimbo, I'm here for it.
I mean, I think we actually had talked about this last time, right? I think that using, you know, if your hands are in a comfortable position, using the left Joy-Con as your movement and mouse as look and shoot, I think that is a super nice keyboard and mouse facsimile that you could have on a Switch too. So I think it's awesome that they have it and that they could do it for either or. Like, you know, if someone's left-handed or right-handed. I don't think that dual mice at the same time is going to be anything like other than Mario Party, like you guys have already said, or possibly some other gimmicky type of thing. But I just like the extra use case of, hey, do you want to use, you know, mouse for like mouse look and aiming and stuff, even if that isn't super comfortable, like, you know, like Bill has said. Maybe you could get an accessory that makes a, you know, we saw that 3D printed accessory.
Saw the 3D printed thing.
And that was like, okay, well, maybe, like, if I'm at home and, you know, okay, whatever. I mean, it also depends on, like, how good the mouse sensor is, right? Like, if you just do it, like, on a couch, so you're, like, sitting on the couch and your hands are, like, by your waist, and you're not really, like, on a, you know, whatever, your just hands are, like, just, like, down, you're comfortably sitting on a couch while doing it, that'd be cool. I don't know how good the sensor is. Maybe it's using the 9-axis gyro thing to help out. Who knows? I have no idea.
I'd like to see when in Mario Kart 9, you know, remember on the Wii, it was like, I'm playing in motion controls is like one of the things that you could say. is like Mario Kart 9 is going to be like you're holding the mouse and you put it on the table and you're driving around like that, like we did with our Matchbox cars when we were little kids.
That sounds
We're
fun.
driving around like that. Now I'm playing in mouse mode.
Yeah, that sounds fun, actually, to be honest. That sounds pretty
Speaking
cool.
I
of
think
these,
that
like- Go for it, Russ.
Wait. I was going to say that any of these additions, as long as they don't take away and aren't a requirement, a mechanic,
Right.
like it's all good. Like I remember 2 years ago, I bought Switch Sports and it's so dumb, but I was so amazed. I'm like, you mean I can just use my Joy-Con as a Wiimote? Like I can just swing it for tennis. You know what I mean? Like I was like, this is perfect. I didn't even realize that this is my handheld gaming console. And now I'm using it like a Wii. And I love that. And so anything that adds and doesn't require, I think is great.
Absolutely.
I was just
All
going
right.
to say, speaking of
go
these
ahead.
dumb gimmick games, do you think they'll make 1-2 Switch 2? Is that should
God,
they do
I
that?
hope not. Well, I mean, I'm sure. First off, that should have been a pack-in because it just showed
100%.
showed off the Joy-Cons, and people would have actually given it a shot, and maybe they would have had some fun with it, and then it would have gone on the shelf and never to be touched again. But to expect people to pay money for that game is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Carrie?
So what's interesting is if you look at the original Switch box, there is a cutout in the box itself that fits a Switch case game perfectly. And to not have the only reason I can see them not having 1-2 Switch as a pack-in game is their fear of the Wii Sports happening all over again, where people buy a Switch that has the game that was included, and that's all they were buying it for. 1-2 Switch doesn't deserve that type of mentality at all. Like, it's not that good of a game. Whereas Wii Sports was such a novel approach to games, to like how people were doing it, that it was such a new, actually cool thing. Where 1-2 Switch is definitely super tech demo stuff all over the place. Yeah, so I also believe it should have been a pack-in from the get-go. But yeah, it's yeah, but they made another one. They made another one of it. And that didn't
I
sell
forget what
very
it was
well.
called now.
Oh, yeah, they did. So I guess,
worse.
well, but it wasn't
Every-
called 1-2 Switch 2.
It's everything 1-2 Switch or something? Something like that.
Something like that.
Everybody?
Everybody
yeah,
wants to,
everybody 1-2 Switch. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have
It
I have
turns
one
out
last
nobody
dumb
want
take.
to Switch.
Yeah. Nobody 1-2 Switch.
Yeah. I have one last dumb take on the mouse thing. I don't want to harp on it. It's just I don't think I noticed anyone pointed out. Why does Nintendo have a patent for this? It's a mouse.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, so that they can sue
Bro,
somebody
Yeah.
They have a
for
patent on
unrelated things.
Pokemon
that they-
Capture.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's Nintendo. The answer is Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, especially because Lenovo predates them. I'm sure somebody predates
Yeah.
Lenovo. Lenovo has a Joy-Con you take off and you use it as a mouse.
What do they call them? True Strikes, though. They call them True
Two
Strikes.
strikes.
True. I mean, correct. Damn it.
Right.
Hey, Lenovo, sue Nintendo. We'll all get behind you.
Yeah.
100%.
All right. So the next thing that we're going to do today is a little bit different than what we usually do. I went through and I found not every game that's coming out in 2025 because that would be ridiculous and we can't be here forever. But I found a good deal of games that I think a lot of people are probably excited for that are coming out in 2025. And I made a tier list. Basically, it's one of those SABCD tier lists where you click and drag the game to where you are on, like where you want on the chart. And it is linked down below so that you guys can do it. At the end of the episode, I'm going to take all of these guys and post it as like the last couple of frames so that you can see all of it. So like I'll post them at the end and we'll probably post them to social media or something like that. So make sure you follow all of these guys in all of the places. But I figured what we would do is I would pick each person would pick a game. We would talk about that game for a little bit and then say, where do we put it on our tier list? And I figured, S is like, you are really hyped for this game. A is like, I'm probably going to get it. B is like, I'm going to wait for a sale. C is, I'm not interested. And D is, I don't even know what the hell this is. So that's just how I was thinking about it. But I mean, these guys can all make their own tier list the way that they want. And let's go ahead and talk about this. Russ, pick a game that you want to talk about that you, so that we can start this process.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Ghosts of Yotei first. So way I'm looking at my tiers are a little bit different than yours. I'm looking at S as like I'm going to pre-order, pre-install that game. A is like I will probably get it at launch. B is I will get it, but I will have to wait till it's on sale a bit. C is like I might get it if the price is good enough, and then D is like I've never heard of it, or it's a sequel to a game that I don't plan on playing. So Ghost of Yotei I put in an A tier for me, and that means that yes, I will probably get it, maybe not day one, but very soon to it, or close to it. It all really depends on if I can finish Ghost of Tsushima first, and if I'm burnt out of the world before that one comes in. I'm honestly not really thinking about like critic reviews with any of this stuff. I'm just like, what do I want to play? You know what I mean? What does my 2025 look like? And so that one I put as an A. It's going to be obviously a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, as a third person like story driven kind of game, mission related, kind of open world. And I love the style and the pacing of it. And Sucker Punch, as far as I know, they haven't made a game since last Ghost of Tsushima. So this is all they've been working on. And so at least that we know about. So probably a lot of heart went into this. It's not just going to be a new skin or something. And it's in a different time frame, different character, all that kind of stuff. So I like the idea of just picking pieces of like feudal Japan and just be like, okay, we're going to focus on this, instead of a Mongol invasion with the first one, it's going to be whatever this is.
Yeah. Rich, where are you putting Ghosts of Yotei on your list?
I am almost exactly like Russ. It's an A, dependent on whether or not I can finish Tsushima. But I will say, like, just the announcement of Yotei makes me want to finish Tsushima, right? Like, I want to go back and play that. So I am firmly in an A. I think it looks great, and I'm really excited to try that game.
Carrie?
Wait for PC.
What tier is that then for you?
Point.
A, wait for PC. That's
fair enough.
Yeah.
So you're going to buy it as soon as it's available on PC.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to get it when it's on PC. Yeah.
I really liked what I did play with Ghost of Tsushima, but it's also like these are big open world games, and I know that my attention span is terrible. So I'm not going to put this at A. I'm putting it at B, but only because I know that it's the kind of game that I'll buy. I'll have 4 or 5 hours of, oh my God, this is amazing. And then I will see something shiny that will distract me, and I will probably never get back to it, which is exactly what happened with Ghosts of Tsushima. Rich, pick a game.
All right. We're going for Capcom Fighting Collection 2. So
Okay.
Capcom Fighting Collection 2 has mostly the Capcom versus SNK series. It does have like I want to say a couple weird games, maybe. Let me look it up real quick. But my thought there is a lot of these games are just games that I played a lot with friends and with randos, right? When it came out in the arcades.
Mm-hmm.
And these are some of my favorite fighting games. So here's the full list. Capcom versus SNK 1, Capcom versus SNK 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, Power Stone 1 and 2. I know a lot of people are really excited about Power Stone, Plasma Sword, Project Justice, and Capcom Fighting Evolution, which is the one that we don't talk about. So mostly I'm excited for the Capcom versus SNK 1 and 2. 1 is a little bit jank, but I still enjoy playing that. So I would love to play that with people, and just seeing what they've done so far with like Marvel Fighting Collection. I think, they are doing a good job of recapturing some of these games, adding in good, pretty solid matchmaking. So I'm really excited for those.
I put it at C at first, but then you reminded me that Power Stone's in it. Immediately jumps up to a B for me. Yeah. I'll pick it up as soon as it's on sale.
Power Stone with matchmaking sounds awesome.
Right?
I loved Power Stone on my Dreamcast back in the day.
But yeah. the matchmaking component of it alone just really helps elevate that thing a whole bunch.
Agreed. I realize I didn't say my tier. I'm putting it in S. I'm not actually going to pre-order anything, but this is as close as I get, right? Like I do want to play this at launch while people are still playing it. I want to play,
sure.
Try to see how I compare with other folks. So yeah, I'm going to get this as soon as it comes out.
You going to get an arcade stick to go with it?
Oh man, that's a good question. So I used to have an arcade stick back in the PS3 days. One thing I've been thinking about a lot, and I think I'm ready to do it now, is the leverless, right? The
little fight pads.
Yeah, just the buttons. The arcade stick I never fully got used to it. I was pretty decent with a control pad, so I just kind of fell in between the two. But I don't know. I just really like the look of the leverless. I feel like I'm going to enjoy it.
I'm afraid of the quarter circle movements on a leverless thing. You know what I mean?
It's like this. Just do that.
Yeah. Oh, just do that.
Just do that.
Just do that.
Yeah.
Carrie, are you where are you putting Capcom Fighting Collection 2?
I'm gonna put it at a B. There's like I want to. For me, it's like this is the Marvel Rivals type of situation. Is like I need to be there day one to fully get the goodness out of it before any type of anything else goes away and whatever community was there starts to dwindle down. But for Marvel Rivals, it's the opposite, right? It's like if I'm not there with the meta and following the meta, then people are going to start getting annoyed, and then it's just like not even a fun game. So it's like you want to capture the zeitgeist of that for these types of things. Power Stone sounds amazing. Power Stone 1 specifically sounds super amazing with like full on matchmaking. That like pushes it closer to an A, but the reality is that when it comes out, I'll probably be doing some other stuff. I wish I'm going to make every attempt to play it. It's between an A and a B.
Russ, where are you putting Capcom Fighting Collection?
I'm not as enthusiastic, so I have it in a C, which is like if the price is right kind of thing, and it's like I see this as a bundle game. Like I will get it as part of some humble Capcom bundle kind of thing, because that's how I have most of my Capcom games. Yeah, and so I'm no rush to it. I don't play online matchmaking. Like that kind of stuff stresses me out. So, and I don't have a lot of, a lot of urgency to play these games if it's going to be offline, because you can emulate most of these games. So, yeah, I'm okay with having it at a C tier for me.
Fair enough. Carrie, pick a game, man.
Oh, Avowed, easy.
All right, talk about where you want to put it on your list. While you put it on your list,
that's S tier for me. So I've been hyped. If we're just talking pure hype, I've been hyped about this game since 2020 when it first came out, with like the arrow that gets shot and you follow the arrow for a while while there's like exposition going on, and then it lands and then the guy comes up and you see a sword and then he has like fiery magic coming out of the other hand. And the premise of it was, okay, first person Elder Scrolls like, but a heavy emphasis on dual wielding and offense. And every gameplay thing that we've seen so far seems to also say that as well. So I'm looking for like, you have two like wands and stuff, or you can have like, it's just being like a super battle mage or whatever. I really like that whole idea and the type of format. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I think like Obsidian doing it, there's just a part of me, right? Like in the back of my head, I'm like, come on, I know Obsidian. I know these guys can pull through. Even if the original teams aren't there, but there's still some. I just feel like this is Obsidian's moment. So this is one I'm super hyped for, and it's very, very soon.
Just looking at it, I was hyped for it until I saw the gameplay, and I thought the combat doesn't look like it feels good. But at the same time, if you watch Skyrim, the combat in Skyrim doesn't look like it feels good, but when you're playing it, it feels good. So I am very much on the fence on this game. Luckily, it's a Microsoft first party thing, so it'll come to Game Pass. So I'll be able to try it out. And then if it's good, then I'll be like, yay. And if it's not good, then I'll be like, nothing was lost.
So you know what's interesting about this, and I tweeted about it just a bit ago, is that supposedly if you have Game Pass, you can play Avowed on Battle.net. So as long as you link Battle.net with your Xbox account, you can use Battle.net, which means that if it's on Battle.net, it will work on Steam Deck. So if you have Game Pass,
because it's not one of those
app.
Weird.
Yeah,
it's not one of those weird programs.
Exactly. So this may be one of the like first-ish games that is a Game Pass game that will be playable on a Steam Deck. So I'm curious to see how that shakes out.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Rich, where are you putting this on your tier list?
I have it I think I have it just above Yote right now. And I think, speaking of gameplay, right? Like every time I hear, I don't think I've really played an Obsidian game, but every time I hear about Obsidian, I feel like the gameplay is not what people talk about.
Right.
And yet the gameplay in this trailer like is intriguing and compelling to me. So if they can nail the things that they've been nailing for years now and also have like really interesting combat, it does look like not weighty. Like it
Yes.
lacks weight for sure, but it looks mechanically interesting, right? Like just these different like abilities and things like that. So if they can nail that, even if it does lack that weight, and they can nail the other pieces, yeah, I think like Carrie's saying, this could be kind of like their breakout moment for them.
Russ, where are you putting it?
I have an A tier pretty solidly. A lot of that has to do with the fact that it's Game Pass, so it's like there's a low barrier to entry. So I could just download it and try it out, you know. And so I don't plan on buying it, you know. But if it's, you know, a lot of these Game Pass games, if I like it enough, I will actually pay for it. You know, that way I can have it wherever on Steam. And so yeah, it's an option. But I've never really gotten far in any Obsidian game. So this is the first one where I'm like, all right, I'm ready for a reset. And so that's kind of where I'm looking at it. And yeah, it reminds me a bit of like Skyrim-ish, you know, but a little bit more neon and magically. And I don't know, I kind of like that.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I'll pick one, and I will say Split Fiction.
Oh yeah, but yes.
Split Fiction, we just saw at the Game Awards. It was announced, and it's this really cool game where you play as two writers. One writer that focuses on sci-fi, and the other one focuses on fantasy. And they kind of get pulled into the worlds that they had created as they were writing these books, and you ping pong back and forth between them. And it's made by the same people who, oh God, what's the prison game that where you do
A Way Out?
A Way Out. Yeah, it's made by the same people who make A Way Out. And so basically it's like this 2-player couch co-op kind of game where you go through and you like you've got split screen, as like one person's doing one thing, one person's doing another. And I just think it looks so interesting, and I love that they're not like it's like this new IP, and that's very, very interesting. It's not going to be a day one for me, but it's definitely something that I am absolutely interested in. So I'm going to put that at A tier.
Let me go. Let me
Yes.
talk about this. It's S tier for me as well. So my son and I play also It Takes Two, A Way Out. I feel like there's another one that I'm missing that this team has made as well.
Brothers, but that doesn't have the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
A Way,
like single player.
A Way Out. So we played It Takes Two first, then we played A Way Out, and then in A Way Out, I was playing with my son. I think I might have been like 10 at the time, and I don't want to I don't know spoilers or anything, but like at the end, it like you kind of like turn on each other, and my son was just like, "Oh no." like I don't want to kill my dad. like that's how like we were in it, right? Like there's so many parts of like breaking out and all the other stuff that is so cool. And It Takes Two is like that as well, where you are like, you know, yourself and you're doing stuff, but the other person is depending on you, and likewise, and it flips back and forth, and there's just so many really cool parts. And Split Fiction really just looks like it's It Takes Two plus. If you've never played It Takes Two, it is such an amazing game with like tons of funny stuff that's happening all the time. Just really excellent. I can't recommend It Takes Two enough. Especially, you know, as a father, and playing with your kid is makes it way more enjoyable. So that's why it's going to be day one for me. The other cool part is that like when you buy the game, so when you buy it, there's a friend pass that can be downloaded for free, and that whoever you want, basically, as long as one person owns the game, if someone could just pick it up and play the second side of it. So that's definitely S tier for me. I'm buying that game day one.
In A Way Out, did your son didn't want to attack you? Did you attack him with no like you like this is how life is, kid?
Well, no, I mean, like eventually, yeah, I did, but like I was like, you know, but it's just a game. We're just, you know, let's figure out what happens at the end of the story. Maybe this is not how it works. And he was just so bummed about like where we were, and but you know, he's like a 10-year-old kid. Like, so I'm not of the philosophy that garbage in is garbage out. So like I played so many violent video games growing up, and I have there's not a violent bone in my body. So I never really cared. Like I was letting my son play like Mortal Kombat when he's 4. and he loves Sub-Zero and, you know, performing fatalities. And I've had a lot of people like, oh, my kid's like one of the sweetest kids you could ever meet. And that never bothered me. But I would even let him play like Grand Theft Auto. So when he's playing Grand Theft Auto and he accidentally gets the cops, when he was like 5 or 6, he would just like put the controller down and run away. Like he's like, oh no, the cops are gonna come get me. I'm like, buddy, you know that's, you know, nothing's gonna happen. Like, this is just nonsense. He's like, I know, but like I still don't want it. I don't want to be here when they get me. I'm like, all right. So like that's like he was still young enough where, you know, he is getting absorbed into it, and for him playing this game, we are partners, right? Escaping, right. And we're gonna, you know, and then for this double cross to happen, he got super bummed out by it. He was just like, I don't want to play. Thankfully, it was the end of the game, right? So it's like literally nothing more to do. But yeah, it like completely soured him on the experience.
He's like the Wesley Snipes meme. So he's like pointing the gun at you. But he's got a tear in his
just
eye.
tears on New Jack City. Is that New
exactly.
Jack City?
Yeah. But what's funny is my son would not hesitate. He would. I'm sure if we got to that, he would just be like, "Yeah, cool. I'm killing my dad."
Like oh, neat. This is a neat way to do it.
And he'd laugh.
Cackle.
Rich, you playing Split Fiction? Where's it going?
I put it in S. I put it above Capcom Fighting. So I can't wait to play this with either my son or my daughter. I think we would enjoy it a ton. And I think exactly what Carrie said, right? Like it has that It Takes Two, which was already really good, and it feels like plus. I like that they're kind of continuing down the same theme.
Right.
And like, you know, really like honing their skill in this genre that they've created.
It is a weird thing that they like no other company really wants to like enter into this. Yeah. So they wind up having this exclusivity that shouldn't happen, but because no one is willing to like invest money into it, they have carte blanche to this entire like co-op genre of a game. It's really fascinating. It is. To just be just witness from the outside. Like, how's there not other games like this?
Yeah. I love it.
And Russ, where are you putting it?
I don't know why you guys aren't talking about my S tier and A tier games, but I have this at a C. So I've never really done a lot of couch co-op gaming, you know. This does feel like maybe if I want to jump in with one of my kids, I can do it. But man, I never played Brothers. I never played, you know, Way Out, all that kind of stuff. And so it's again going to be that C tier, which is if the price is right. Yeah.
Real quick. Sorry. That reminds me. It Takes Two, A Way Out, 80% off right now.
Yeah. Also, Russ, it is on Game Pass. Do you have Game Pass Ultimate?
Yep.
Yeah. So then it's on the EA Pass as well. So It Takes Two is already available, as well as A Way Out. I would suggest trying to play with your kid, just because you may be thinking like a co-op game and it's kind of like a lame thing where it's like whatever, but they really do a fantastic job of, it's almost like the Astrobot thing where they spice it up every level. Yes. So it's not this thing. It Takes Two is hammy and like kind of like, I mean, for me and my son, we didn't care, but it's definitely, what is the word I want to look for? There's like this book of love who's like, like, you know, he's like hamming it up, and
like
he's
saccharine.
Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a bit sweet. Which, I mean, who cares, right? But I feel like there's like, He-Man woman haters that would like be like, I'm too manly for this game. Bah! You know what I mean? Like, but it's still a great. A Way Out is fantastic as well, and I think that they do a really good job of just exploring co-op in a different way, where it's not really like not Golden Axe or not like Gauntlet, where it's kind of this like free-for-all co-op type of thing. It's far more of a unison co-op thing, and they kind of join that, break it apart, join that, break it apart, do twists on it. It's really good. I really advise playing it.
The way we do co-op is that like one of us will play a game, the other one watches. And so like right now my son is playing through Last of Us Part 2 remastered or remake, whatever, on
same difference.
PS5, and he's 15, and so he finished the first one, but he doesn't know what's going to happen. And so like I'm just loving watching.
Don't
him
say
play,
what's going to happen, because I haven't finished these.
Yeah,
I've only watched the show.
Oh, okay.
So that was it. Like that's the kind of enjoyment we have where one's playing and one's watching. And I personally kind of suck at video games, and so I like watching him because he's way better than me. And so I'm like, oh, cool. He he took that person down in a way that I wouldn't have, and so I enjoy that little moment as well.
Well, Russ, you mentioned that we keep picking games that are not your S tier. Throw a game up on S tier. Let's do this because we only got 15 minutes left, so we got to go fast.
My number one game, what I'm looking for most this year is Judas, which is the Kevin Levine game, the next, he did BioShock Infinite, and then now Judas. And so it's been a long time coming. I've watched a couple early trailers, but then I just stopped watching because I got burned by watching a lot of BioShock Infinite content before the game came out. And there he was promising a lot. He's like, yes, you will cure cancer in this game, And when the game came out, you're like, wait, where's like all the bird stuff and everything else, And so I've just been kind of going into it blind, but I've earned he's earned enough of my trust over those two games that whatever he's putting out, the whole studio and everyone else, I'm ready for it. So I will probably just play it, even if it gets D's. Like I don't really care. I'm just going to play that game, and that's one I'm really looking forward to. I only have 2 on the S tier, and that's one for me.
Wow, that's also S tier for me.
BioShock is a fantastic game, but to carry that torch for so long, Russ, you're gonna get. I feel like that I'm not gonna have it so high on my tier just because I don't want to get burned by it. I am very interested in it. BioShock 1 is such like an amazing. I know like you like story based games, so BioShock 1 must have been like banging on all cylinders because
so good.
Yeah, yeah, there's like that Ratatouille moment in BioShock that happens when you're walking and they're like, would you kindly? Like, huh? And then it's just like, and then it's like, and you go back to the beginning of the game and you're just like, no way.
Yeah.
No way. So I don't know if we're going to get to that tier again because that's a high bar, dude.
It is.
So
I'm here for it.
Yeah. All right. I mean, yeah, if he can pull off something like it, that's definitely a game that you're going to want like day one with like, that's an Animal Well game. That's an Outer Wilds game. That's a game that you do not want spoiled by anyone talking about it type of game. So man, yeah.
Where's it going, Carrie?
I'm going to put it in A, only because I don't want to put an S because I don't want to get my hype up that much for it where I'm expecting BioShock 1 all over again.
Rich, where are you putting it?
Yeah, I'm like low A, high B, kind of similar reasoning. I BioShock 1, we all know, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all there. But like, I know he didn't work on BioShock 2, but he did on Infinite. And either way, like those two titles just didn't deliver that with what BioShock 1 delivered. And, it's just going to be a high bar to clear. So I can't expect that. So I'm going to say low A for me.
You know what it's like? It's like Super Mario Brothers 2, where it's like, oh, it was a dream sequence. Oh, and then you see another game do a dream sequence and you're like, dream sequence?
Right.
That
This guy's
sucks.
hating on Mario too? What is his problem? Russ,
not
school
hating
this
on
guy.
Yeah. No,
It's the best Mario.
Did you guys
It
know
is.
it's Doki Doki Panic?
Of
Have you
course.
guys heard that?
Super Mario Bros. 2 is
Have you heard?
What? Really?
Wood.
All right,
I
we got to make
earlier
this
said-
faster.
I
Go
just
ahead,
want to
Russ.
make a quick correction. I said Kevin Levine. It's Ken Levine. I made a mistake. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I was just going to tell everybody that is like you dropped frames or something, and you didn't actually say that.
Fake frames.
All right, fake syllables. Rich, pick a game and talk about it quickly.
We only got a little time, so I'm going with an S tier. Doom to Dark Ages, my
of
most
course.
anticipated game.
Yes, sir.
I don't even have anything else to say. We've been talking about it for weeks now. So
Yes.
Doom to Dark Ages.
Yeah. This
S tier for me.
This year is fantastic. Definitely S tier. This year is insane. This is going up there as a hallmark year.
It
I have
is
a B tier. Like
Wow.
I'll wait for it to go on
It's
It's
okay.
all
sale.
right. We all
I'm
have
not in a
different
huge
tastes.
rush. I'm just not in a rush. That's all.
Yeah.
Oh, in
That's
terms of
fair.
like hype? No, yeah, it's S
Yeah,
tier
that's
for
what
me.
this is. This is hype.
Yeah,
How
no,
hyped
it's-
are
it's-
you?
Yeah, definitely S tier. I love the direction that these guys have been going and the pivots that they make and the slowing down because it's like that, dude. There's like that bullet hell and just like feels like the old Doom, right? When you were moving around, when you had the cursor cues before WASD existed. it was slow because of your input method. And I feel like when I played it originally, I would like move into position and fire, and I would like move around and move into position. And I feel like Doom of the Dark Ages is that on purpose. So you're moving into position and then focusing on the one big baddie in front of you. And that's a departure from the previous two ones, Eternal especially, because that one was just like, you got to keep moving.
Yeah, it was ballet.
Yeah, so I love every one. I love Doom 2016, Doom Eternal. I love all of them. And I'm looking forward to it. It feels like they're doing a spin on it that I am looking forward to. S tier.
All right. So B tier, S tier, S tier, S tier. Carrie, pick a game that is C tier for you.
Out of this list. C tier. Something that I don't care about. So, all right. So this is kind of there. Outer Worlds 2 is a game that I feel like I want to play, but it's going to be like a wait and see type of thing. I'm not hyped up for it because when I played Outer Worlds 1, I had higher expectations and they were crushed. So Outer Worlds 2 for me is going to be a C tier game.
Rich?
I'm putting it at D. I just don't have enough. It's too the name is too close to Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds deserves the Outer W name.
It is true because it happens so often where you have to like
so sick of it.
Yeah, where you like Outer Wilds.
Yeah.
By the way, very quickly, I have to say, Rich bought me Outer Wilds for Christmas.
Nice.
I did launch that, and then I launched, and I immediately crashed into the sun. So
yes,
nobody say anything.
Yes, don't say anything. That's all that I know. All right. So I immediately crashed into the sun, and then weird things happened. All right. Rich, you put that at D tier. Russ, where are you putting Outer Worlds 2?
D tier as well. We already got an Obsidian game coming.
Yeah,
like I'm just not, and I never played Outer Worlds 1 anyway, so
it's not that great.
I played Outer Worlds 1, and I was like, this is fine.
Yeah, but like what the expectations and anticipation was higher. It was like, oh, it's Obsidian, it's going to be this, we're going to, cool, let's get into it. And then when it just like was it, whatever, it was fine. But man, being dragged down from that hype really sucked. So that's where I'm going to say Outer Worlds, because I could be mean to a few other games on this list, but I don't want to be mean to them. This is one game that I feel like hype level wise is fully into a C tier. Like it's not like whatever. I hope to be surprised by it, but I don't anticipate it.
Fair enough. So, and I'm D tier for Outer Worlds 2. I was just kind of bummed by that, the other one. Rich, did you pick Outer Worlds 2?
I think it's, I Outer Worlds 2 is a D. Carrie picked it. I think it's your turn.
Carrie picked it. Either Rich or Russ. I don't care who. Pick one that's a C tier for you.
Go ahead, Russ.
I put Assassin's Creed Shadows there. Again, just not much of a rush for that one, like I'll play it when I play it, but I mean I got 8 other Assassin's Creed games got to play first. You know what I mean?
So you did just buy the bundle.
I've got enough Japanese games as well, like set in Japan style third person games. So
this seems
Gary, go, but don't go too long because we only got 6 minutes left.
I'm gonna say B for Assassin's Creed Shadow. It looks like one of the better Assassin's Creeds to come out in a long time.
That's funny. That's exactly where I have it as a B. And my thought there is B is the highest most excited I can get for an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
It is the most. It is the highest I can get. Yeah.
I have to admit, I watched previews where people were who have been playing it, have been talking about it, and they're like, Nawe's awesome to play and it feels great. And then Yasuke feels like crap because he doesn't have the Assassin's kit. Like he's just like this big lumbering giant that busts through concrete walls, and it's just not as fun because he's not an assassin, and that makes a lot of sense to me. So for me, it's C tier. I've lost interest in it, especially because I put Ghosts of Yotai at B tier. I cannot possibly put Assassin's Creed Shadow at the same level. All right, we only got 5 minutes left. Rich, pick a game that you think is C tier.
Ooh. Do I do it? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is C tier.
Whoa. Man, people are going to burn your house down.
Molotov.
Here's the thing. I probably will buy it, right? Like, it's just one of those things that, like, we all are going to talk about it, so I'm probably going to buy it. But in terms of hype, I am not looking forward to it. I'm almost the opposite of looking forward to it. I'm like, I still feel like it is going to be like $80 to $100.
Right.
It is going to be console only to start, right?
Yep.
Like,
It's the Rockstar way.
And Rockstar, to me, they are currently a shell of their former selves, and they haven't done anything to prove differently, right? Like everything they've done since Red Dead Redemption 2 has been like lackluster, right? And
what have they done?
That's part of the problem, but like GTA Trilogy, the
but those are like outsourced.
Yeah,
that one was outsourced.
Yeah, the GTA Trilogy was done by another company.
Okay. All right, and also the Housers left. That was another piece. So I'm a little miffed about that. So
Russ, where are you putting? Oh, I'm sorry. Where are you putting GTA 6, Russ?
I put it in A tier, not because I'm like super excited for it. I don't actually really like playing GTA games, but I want to be here for it. Like, I think there's going to be like, where were you when GTA 6 came out? You know what I mean? So I want to be there for part of that. So I have it A tier because that's my level of like, I'm probably going to buy it day one kind of thing. That's kind of how I feel about it. I just want to be part of that. I remember when GTA 4 came out, like going and getting it midnight launch, that kind of thing. And then playing it for 20 minutes and be like, I don't want to play this. I got to check my phone all the time. And so like, I never like played that game after that, but I was there for it and I want to be there for GTA 6.
When they ask me, where were you when GTA 6 came out, I'm going to say I was playing Doom the Dark Ages because I have no interest in GTA 6. Maybe it'll be amazing and maybe I'll come around, but it's D tier for me. I just don't like Rockstar games. I never have really enjoyed them. Carrie, where do you put it?
I don't think it's coming out this year, but
that's true.
I think it's getting delayed till next year. Me personally,
I think subconsciously I knew that because before we started recording, it wasn't on the list, and Rich was like, "Bill, pay attention."
Rockstar's playbook is delay twice, but wait until the last second to delay it the second time. So yeah, I don't even expect it to come out this year personally, but if it does come out, it's a B. I enjoy the side missions. I enjoy the sandbox more than I enjoy like kind of the world, because sometimes some of the people, like I played Grand Theft Auto 4 all the way through, but I didn't really like the protagonist that I was playing as. I didn't align with any of his choices or whatever. I was just kind of going through the beats. And then for GTA 5, I didn't even play any of the story. I just kind of like messed around in the open world for a whole bunch until I just didn't want to play anymore. So yeah, like GTA Online is probably going to be like the bigger new cash grab that they have going, and it's going to be console only first, and then we have to wait a year before they can double dip on the PC, and they're going to double dip on a remaster for the PS6 and whatever else. It's the regular Rockstar thing. So yeah, I'm a B. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a big event. You know what I mean? It's going to be, like posters are going to be plastered everywhere. You're going to step on, the sidewalks are going to have GTA 6 on it. So that's really the whole thing, is like you can't not see it. It's just in front of your face.
Yeah. All right. So we have a lot more games to go through, but we don't have time to do them in this particular episode. So what I'm going to ask all the guys to do is to just take a screenshot of what you got so far, just in case your browser cache empties. And we're going to pick up where we left off next episode, and we'll just keep working our way through this list, building out our hype lists. And if you want to build your own hype list and share them with us, there's a link in the description down below. And if you want to share them with us, you can find us on social media or on my YouTube channel, Nerd Nest. There's now this community post thing where somebody posted a picture of us talking about video games, and their baby was like reaching up to the TV and touching Russ, and they were like, he found his favorite already. You guys can post your tier lists there as well. And then chat about all of the different, why somebody should have something at A tier instead of B or something like that. Next time we'll work on finishing this. But you guys could have been anywhere, but you're here with us. Rich, I know you got a heart out. Real quick, tell us what you're working on.
Nothing. I haven't been working on anything. I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'm just been focusing on work. So, yeah.
Work. Marvel Rivals.
Yeah,
Marvel
right.
Rivals is where he's been
There you
focused. Carrie, you got a video coming out this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing a few of them progressively, but the first one to come up will be the Hall Effect sticks and how to install them, the new Gillikit ones in the ROG Ally X. Nice. And then I actually bought an Xbox Series X that had drift just so that I could show it before and after. So there's like 2 videos I have coming up. It was supposed to be this week, but then I got sick, so it's now next week.
Awesome. Russ, what are you working on, man?
So I just finished a video about RetroDeck, which is like an emulation tool for the Steam Deck. So I just made a video this morning about that. And then I think my weekend video is going to be finally my Ioneo Evo versus Odin 2 Portal comparison video. That's my big one. I got a couple others in the hopper, like a controller review and stuff, but I need to get that one out because I've got like smaller handhelds and stuff coming in the mail here soon. So that's probably it.
We are officially 1 minute late from Rich's Heart Out. So thank you so much for sticking with us, man. Have an awesome day, everybody. Stay rad. Bye-bye.
Later, guys.